Grace Monroe's garage was a sanctuary of grit and grease, a small concrete haven tucked off a lonely highway in Greece, where trucks roared past without a glance. At 35, Grace carried the weight of her world in calloused hands and a heart that refused to break. Her dark brown hair, loosely tied back, framed a face etched with quiet determination, her hazel eyes glinting with a fire that no hardship could dim. The garage was her lifeline. Each bolt she tightened a quiet rebellion against the slow bleed of a struggling business. Money was tight, rent loomed like a storm cloud, and her tools, worn and battered, were as stubborn as the engine she coaxed back to life. Yet, in the hum of machinery, Grace found purpose, a rhythm that sang of resilience forged through years of solitary labor. That stormy night, the sky unleashed a torrent, rain hammering the garage roof like 1,000 tiny fists. Inside, shadows flickered across shelves cluttered with tools, the air thick with the scent of oil and wet earth. Grace wiped her hands on a rag, her shoulders heavy with the ache of another long day. Then, headlights pierced the downpour, and a semi-truck groaned to a stop outside, its engine coughing into silence. A man stepped down, drenched and weary, his flannel shirt clinging to a frame bowed by countless miles. His weathered face carried stories of roads that stretched beyond the horizon, and his eyes held a quiet exhaustion that tugged at Grace's heart. She didn't hesitate. "Come in," she called, swinging open the garage door, her voice steady despite the storm's roar. "Let's get you out of this mess." He introduced himself as Jack, his voice low, almost lost in the rain. Grace knelt by the truck, flashlight beam dancing over the engine's innards. Hours slipped by as she worked alone, her fingers deft despite the cold seeping into her bones. The flickering light cast her silhouette against the wall, a lone figure battling time, weather, and a stubborn machine. Each turn of the wrench was a prayer, each spark of the engine a small victory. When the truck finally roared to life, the sound was a triumph that warmed her chest. Jack reached for his wallet, but Grace's hand stopped him. "You've got enough on your plate," she said softly, her eyes meeting his with a kindness that felt like home. "Just get where you're going safe." His nod was heavy with unspoken gratitude, and as he drove off, the rain swallowed his taillights. Grace stood in the doorway, the storm's chill wrapping around her, but a flicker of warmth bloomed in her chest, a fragile hope she hadn't felt in years. Morning broke with a sky still bruised by clouds, the air crisp and heavy with the scent of wet gravel. Grace stepped outside, her boots crunching on the damp lot, her breath catching as she scanned the empty highway. Jack was gone, leaving only the echo of that moment when she'd chosen kindness over coin. Days blurred into weeks, each one a grind of small repairs and dwindling funds. Yet, in the quiet moments between the clank of tools and the hum of engines, Grace felt a shift, a whisper of possibility that kept her going. Her neighbors noticed it too. Mrs. Keller from the diner down the road brought coffee one afternoon, her warm smile a balm. "You're a rare one, Grace," she said, eyes crinkling. "Helping a stranger in that storm? That's hard." Grace shrugged, her lips curving faintly. "No one should be left out there alone," she murmured, but her heart swelled at the words. Word of her kindness spread like ripples in a pond. Truckers began to whisper about the mechanic who worked miracles in the rain, asking nothing in return. Grace paid it little mind, her focus fixed on keeping the garage's lights on. One evening, as the sun sank in a blaze of amber and rose, she sat on the garage steps, exhaustion tugging at her limbs. Her phone buzzed, a neighbor's message, "Look outside." Curious, she rounded the corner, and her breath caught at her throat. A gleaming flatbed trailer stood in the lot, loaded with treasures she'd only dreamed of. A hydraulic lift, a snap-on tool set that sparkled like a promise, a commercial-grade compressor humming with potential. A delivery man approached, his smile kind but professional. Grace Monroe. She nodded, her heart pounding like an engine about to stall. He handed her an envelope, and her fingers trembled as she tore it open. The words inside hit like a wave. My daughter ran a shop like yours. Cancer took her, and I couldn't save her dream. But I saw her in you that night. Maybe I can help save yours. Signed, Jack Rollins, retired CEO. Tears burned Grace's eyes, spilling over as the weight of the words sank in. Jack, the tired trucker she'd helped, wasn't just a man passing through. He was a father carrying grief, a man who'd seen in her the spark of his lost daughter. The gift wasn't just tools. It was a lifeline, a second chance that cracked open the walls she'd built around her heart. She clutched the letter, her voice breaking as she whispered to the delivery man, "Please tell him, thank you, from the bottom of my soul." Neighbors gathered, drawn by the sight of the trailer and the raw emotion in Grace's eyes. Mrs. Keller stepped forward, her voice thick. "Grace, you deserve this. You've given so much." Grace could only nod, overwhelmed, as tears traced paths down her grease-streaked cheeks. The garage transformed in days. The hydraulic lift gleamed, easing the strain of heavy repairs. The new tools felt like extensions of her hands, precise and powerful, while her old wrenches lay nearby, a reminder of battles fought and won. The compressor's hum filled the air with promise, and Grace felt a surge of hope she hadn't dared to dream of. Business grew, truckers lingered, sharing stories over coffee, their laughter weaving a new warmth into the garage's walls. The town, once sleepy, buzzed with life, drawn to the woman whose heart matched her skill. One evening, as shadows stretched long, Jack Rollins returned, his weathered face lit with a quiet pride as he stepped into the garage. "Just wanted to see how you're doing," he said, his voice soft but steady. Grace's heart swelled, gratitude choking her words. "Jack, this place, it's alive because of you." He shook his head, eyes glistening. "No, Grace, you made alive. I just gave you a nudge." They talked of loss, of his daughter's love for engines, of how Grace's kindness that stormy night had mirrored her spirit. As Jack left, he paused at the door. "Keep building, Grace. Not just machines, a future." Months later, the garage was a beacon of hope. Grace mentored young mechanics, teaching them not just how to fix engines, but how to fix hearts with kindness. A letter from a trucking association arrived, inviting her to speak on goodwill in hard times. Standing by the open garage door one crisp morning, Grace watched trucks roll in, their engines a chorus of possibility. The flatbed trailer, still parked nearby, stood as a monument to a single act of kindness that had changed everything. As the sun dipped low, Grace ran her fingers over an old wrench, her heart full. The road ahead wasn't just a highway. It was a promise built on the belief that one small moment of compassion could echo louder than a lifetime of struggle. And for Grace Monroe, that echo was only the beginning.